Hypothyroidism is a super frustrating condition to have when you're trying to conceive. And many of you may suspect that you are struggling with a sluggish thyroid, but perhaps you're not able to go and see a doctor right now, or your doctor might not even want to order tests. Some of you may have been prescribed medication, but you don't want to take it, or you have been prescribed medication, you are taking it, but you're hoping to come off them soon. Well, I'm here to offer you some hope because there are at least 5 things that you can start focusing on and start healing your thyroid naturally. Hello my lovelies, and welcome to another one of my videos in which we'll be talking about how you can treat your thyroid naturally. We won't be talking about prescription thyroid medication. We will focus on stuff that you can do at home to boost your thyroid function naturally yourself. A viewer's question was though whether boosting your thyroid naturally is possible when you're already taking something like levothyroxine. And the quick answer is yes, you can, and stick around to the end of the video to learn how you can do that. And another question from a viewer was, how do I handle acute thyroiditis? So that's an acute condition in which your immune system is attacking your thyroid. Well, the things in this video are relevant, but it's definitely not the only thing because they're more focused on chronic hypothyroidism. In the case of acute thyroiditis, it is your immune system that is going crazy, and that is what you need to work on together with your doctor and preferably also a naturopath or a qualified homeopath. The single biggest reason I see with my patients for hypothyroidism is that they actually have exhausted, fatigued adrenals, or that the adrenals are in overdrive. And that's because our bodies are actually pretty clever. When we are living with long-term stress, our bodies will use the thyroid as a brake. So if your body slows down the function of your thyroid, it slows down metabolism. And as a result, you will hold on to weight, you'll start to feel cold, you'll start to feel tired. 3 great ingredients to hopefully get you to nap, right? The problem is if you're actually dealing with adrenal fatigue, but you start to take thyroid medication, you will start to feel better and you will continue on your crazy train of life. You will not resolve the underlying issue. So what you really need to do is focus on nurturing your adrenals. And I've got a video on nurturing your adrenals, which I will link down below. But there are 2 major things that I don't think I've mentioned in that video, but I am mentioning right now that you can do to start taking care of your adrenals. The first one is super simple, and that is take more vitamin C. Vitamin C is super important for your fertility anyway because it's an antioxidant that protects the quality of your eggs. But the spot in your body where vitamin C is also concentrated the highest is actually in your adrenals. So that tells us that the adrenals really love vitamin C. And I can tell that's the case from my patients who have taken vitamin C in higher doses and actually feel like they've taken a cup of coffee without the jitters and feeling crazy and without having the crash afterwards as well. The trick is though that you take high doses of good quality vitamin C. I always recommend to use, for example, a powder. And you can definitely take up to 5 grams. I'm not talking milligrams, 5 grams of vitamin C. And then I would recommend to take it over the course of the day. So maybe start with 3 grams in the morning and another 2 in the afternoon as a pick-me-up. What you will need to look out for is that when you start to develop loose stools, that means that you're hitting the maximum of your vitamin C. You don't need to worry about taking too much because it is a water-soluble vitamin, so you will pee it out if you've got too much of it. You may also know that vitamin C is really important and incredible for your immune system. And since thyroid issues can actually be an immune issue when you have autoimmune thyroiditis such as Hashimoto's, then you understand that taking vitamin C is a good idea. Another important part of taking care of your adrenals and also reducing your physical tendency towards autoimmunity is that you learn to say no. And if you struggle with hypothyroidism and or with adrenal fatigue, you're probably terrible at this. But this is really something that you need to learn to work on, because if on an emotional and mental level you are able to say no, that means you're able to take care of your energy levels and take care of your body when you need to. But also, interestingly enough, when you learn to set boundaries, you understand better what is somebody else's stuff and what is your stuff. What is somebody else's responsibility? What is yours? What are somebody else's emotions and what are yours? And that actually trickles down to your physical cells. Don't forget that autoimmunity is your body attacking itself. So for some reason, it doesn't understand anymore what's mine, what's yours. If you're able to work on that emotionally, it has been shown that it has an effect on your tendency towards autoimmunity and being able to recognize what's yours and what actually needs to be fought, like bacteria and viruses. If you're not sure whether you're struggling with your adrenals or with thyroid issues, then make sure to check the article that I've also linked in the description down below. Foods to avoid. Well, first of all, definitely cut out gluten. Gluten are very big molecules that are abrasive to your gut lining, and as a result, your gut lining can kind of become like Dutch cheese with big holes in them, so to speak. Stuff that should really stay in your gut actually goes through the gut lining and into your system. So a lot of foreign particles end up in your system that triggers your immune system to attack those. But it also puts your body into high alert, and that can trigger off autoimmune issues. I often find, for example, that people that struggle with hay fever actually have a gluten intolerance, or they have this permeable gut lining. It's also shown that people that are sensitive to gluten, when they take it, their thyroid antibodies go up, and they've been able to lower them when they cut out gluten completely. Another thing is soy, and there is some discussion on that online. There are people that say you need to cut out soy completely, and there are people that say that is nonsense. Research has shown that indeed a small group of people struggle with soy if they take way too much of it. Now, if I was trying to heal my thyroid naturally, then I would completely cut out soy, because you don't know if you are part of that small group. And it doesn't mean that you have to stop taking soy forever, but you might want to cut out everything that could be an issue for your thyroid from your diet, and then slowly introduce them, because you will know pretty quickly if it is an issue for you or not. When your diet has become completely clean, the funny thing is that when you then take things that are an issue for you, you will react very quickly and very instantly, and you will know. So another thing you're going to want to cut out are cruciferous vegetables. The thing is that kale and Brussels sprouts are considered superfoods over the last couple of years, right? So some of you have been downing them possibly quite a bit. Now again, there is a lot of discussion on this topic online as well, because there are people that say you need to cut out cruciferous vegetables when you struggle with your thyroid because they contain goitrogens, and that is true, and goitrogens interfere with thyroid function. However, there are also people that say, but that doesn't mean you need to completely cut out all these vegetables that also contain important nutrients. And I think that's partially true. So again, just cut everything out and then slowly introduce and see how you react. The one cruciferous thing I think you should cut out completely is maca, because maca is known as this wonderful fertility super herb, but it's also a cruciferous. And if you're taking it as a supplement, it's going to be super concentrated. So definitely no maca for you, Missy, if you're struggling with your thyroid. As a side note though, if you are seeing a herbalist or a naturopath and they know that you struggle with your thyroid and they have prescribed you maca, open the conversation with them. Don't just say they suck because Fleur says don't take maca. Talk to them and ask them why they think it is appropriate for you. The third thing is improve your anterior pituitary gland function. And you may be wondering, my anterior pituitary, what? Well, this is a gland that is responsible for producing TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone. But sometimes this gland can kind of go a little bit crazy, and either it produces loads of TSH, yelling at the thyroid to produce their thyroid hormones when there's nothing wrong with the thyroid, or it may not be producing enough, and as a result, your thyroid isn't producing enough thyroid hormones, and that gives a feedback to your body saying your thyroid isn't functioning properly. The anterior pituitary gland needs to yell more at the thyroid to produce them. And then as a result, the anterior pituitary gland may start to produce too much TSH. And I think the single biggest reason for this is often use of contraceptives. And that is because anterior pituitary gland is also responsible for producing FSH and LH. These are the hormones that are responsible for maturing eggs and for triggering eggs. But if you're taking contraceptives, the function of the anterior pituitary gland is suppressed because you don't want to mature eggs and you definitely don't want to release them. Then once you stop taking the birth control, this can mean that the anterior pituitary gland has difficulty rebooting again. So if it has difficulty rebooting, then that can also mean that it has difficulty raising TSH and then stimulating the thyroid. And that can be the beginning of a sluggish looking thyroid. The most effective thing that I have seen in my clinic for balancing out your anterior pituitary gland is detoxing the pill homeopathically. I've done a video on this recently and I will link that up here and in the description, of course. The fourth thing we want to do is reduce estrogen dominance, because estrogen interferes with the conversion of the inactive thyroid hormone T4 to the active T3, and that can give you symptoms of hypothyroidism. Also, estrogen interferes with the uptake of thyroid hormones, so again, giving you hypothyroid symptoms. I have done videos on estrogen dominance as well, so I will also link them up here and down below. Make sure to also check out the video on boosting progesterone, because estrogen dominance and low progesterone usually go hand in hand. Last but not least, we're gonna wanna look at your metal load, because everybody is exposed to metals these days. It's definitely not just people that have metal dental fillings or work with heavy metals. What about those of us that live in cities? We're exposed to water in the pipes that often contain metals. We're exposed to the fumes of the cars, or those of us that live in Asia and our culture is to shine our beautiful aluminium pots really beautifully. The issue is that the metals do actually leak into our food. Or what about those of us that just eat fish? That can raise your metal load as well. Or if you have a history of smoking or inhaling secondhand smoke. Even using aluminium-based deodorants can raise your metal levels, not just of aluminium, but also of other metals, because if you're holding on to aluminium, then you tend to hold on to other metals more as well. Now, we talked about how clever our body is with hitting the brakes with the thyroid, right? Well, it's also very clever when it comes to metal toxicity, because it's very hard for our body to get rid of metals. So what it does is it takes the metals and it just sticks them into little nooks and crannies to prevent them from interfering with mineral transport. Because if that gets messed up really badly, you could drop dead. So the body takes these metals and hides them in tissues of important organs, and yes, you guessed it, of our gland. That includes the anterior pituitary gland, the adrenal glands, and the thyroid as well. What I've come to discover is that a lot of people that have been diagnosed with Hashimoto's actually have an underlying metal toxicity issue. I discovered this to be the case because I was detoxing those patients of metals, and then as time went by, their antibody levels dropped, and some of them even went to zero completely. Just as a side note, it meant that I sometimes had to detox them several times, so don't expect a miracle after the first time when you have Hashimoto's. But my experience is definitely that it really improves these conditions a lot. And my theory is that the body is hiding those metals in the thyroid. This is something that we do know, but that the body is attacking the metals in the thyroid. So not really the thyroid itself, but the thyroid becomes collateral damage in the process. Both detoxing metals and contraceptives is definitely possible for you to do at home. I've written up protocols to teach you how to do this exactly, and these protocols can be purchased from my website, and I will link that in the description below. Now, if you have tried all of these things and your thyroid hasn't improved enough, make sure to consider homeopathic treatment, because doing all these things will have cleared the way and your tailored remedies will work even better. Another thing you may want to consider is desiccated thyroid, and there's lots of information about that online as well, so make sure to research that. I promised you how to apply these things when you are already on medication. Well, the simple thing is you work on these things, and as your thyroid starts to improve, you will most likely start to develop hyperthyroid symptoms, because your thyroid is improving, but you're still taking the same level of medication. Now, when you get these symptoms, that means that you can cut back on the medication, but always do that with the prescribing doctor, of course. The symptoms that you should look out for is higher temperatures in your charts, feeling hot and sweaty often, feeling annoyed or angry quickly, feeling hungry, and losing weight faster. These are all signs that your thyroid is improving and that it is time to reduce your medication level. If you want to know more about detoxing the pill homeopathically, make sure to click on the video on your screen right now. And in the meantime, see you in the next video. Bye!